Hey everybody, it's Rob Scheer, the founder of Comfort Cases and the host of Fostering Change. You know what? I want to say thank you and welcome to season 7. Season 7, I can't believe it's here. Do me a big favor. I really want you to listen. I want you to comment, and I definitely want you to subscribe. So I hope you enjoy this season as much as I've enjoyed our guests. Well, people are really surprised that I'm even doing a podcast after the amazing weekend that we just had. Our Glitz to Glamour gala at the Woodmont Country Club. I have to thank everybody who came out. I'd have to thank my friend Jen Lilly, who actually emceed this event. This is her second or third year. She's just amazing. If you do not know her, I don't know what rock you're living under. She is not only known for her Hallmark Channel movies, but, soap operas, and she's a singer and an author and all the amazing things, and she lit the night up. But you know what? I'm so excited about my next guest. My next guest is somebody that I would truly want to interview in the last 7 seasons. These are the type of stories that I think we all need to hear. These are the type of stories that I do know that the younger generation of kids who are experiencing foster care, they need to see the hope. They need to see how truly, as he puts it, takes their trauma and turns it into a purpose. I will say that after reading some of the things that he's gone through, the 17 placements that he's had, we need to talk to him. So, without further ado, Baron, welcome to Fostering Change.
Hello there, Rob. So happy to be here.
Baron, I am happy to have you here. 17 placements. Wow. I mean, that alone is enough for most people not to even be standing. Or if you are standing, you're standing behind bars. Um,
Yes.
so I mean, I get enough hate emails as it is because I'm a person who just says it like it is. You know as well as I do, foster care is no more than a pipeline to a penitentiary. And for
Yes.
someone who has had as many placements as that you had, for you to come out on a side where the sun is shining, I have to know your secret and I need to hear about your journey, just like all of our listeners and viewers.
Sure, Rob. But before I start, can I say I'm not I don't normally get starstruck or I'm a fanboy, but I'm so happy to be able to meet you. I admire you a lot. The fact that you are like very much like me. You don't take, what you've been through and make, complaints and complain about the system being broken. You actually take action. You've adopted five foster children, one with special needs. As a father with a special needs son, I know that you possess a lot of kindness and love in your heart to be able to do that. Not only that, you started this nonprofit comfort cases, which I've been following. This to solve a problem that's been an issue since I started in foster care 50 years ago. So I'm so amazed by the work that you do there. But then you also push for collaboration amongst nonprofits. Not a lot of people talk about that, and it's so important for nonprofits to work together. And you don't just talk about it, you lead by example and use your
You.
nonprofit to work with
Well, listen,
others.
this is enough about me because you're my guest, but I have to tell you, the thing when we started this podcast 7 seasons ago, that was my main purpose to start the podcast is because I thought if I couldn't get anybody to come and have a meeting with me that were other nonprofits, I could have them on as a guest and
Right.
talk about them. And I'll never forget some of my first guests were always like, "What are you getting out of this?" And I was like, the ability to talk to you, to be able to make
Exactly.
friends,
Exactly.
and there's some friends that I've met in the nonprofit world that I have one friend, Dana, she's the executive director and the founder of I Support the Girls. Her and I have lunch every month. And she runs an international nonprofit like I do. And we have lunch and we just have the ability just be there for each other. And that's
Sure.
what nonprofits should do. And we always should remember there's plenty of money to go around. And so, for those of you who are so worried about losing your donors, let me tell you something. We live in a time right now that all of us are losing our donors, and we're trying to figure out how to get by for another 3 months. So, we'll all get it together. But let's jump into this. I want to
Sure.
hear about 17 placements. And by the way, I haven't even told our viewers and our listeners about the fact that you were shot 9 times.
That is correct. Yeah.
And this is not a Dateline episode.
No, I do have a documentary on HBO Max though about it.
You do? What's the name of the documentary?
It's on People Magazine Investigates season 8,
Okay.
episode 8.
Okay. I'm going to
Yeah, and then
definitely,
I
everybody heard
also
that. People Magazine investigates HBO Max, by the way, as you're over in HBO in the fall. Don't forget to watch my documentary that's coming out. So I'm pretty excited. So my friend
yeah,
and I both will have an HBO documentary.
nice.
So,
And it's also on Discovery ID for those that don't have HBO Max as well.
okay.
So it's the same
Perfect
thing.
then.
Yeah,
Perfect.
yeah,
Well, let's do it. Let's jump right in. Tell me about
sure.
how did you end up in foster care?
Yeah, so my dad was in the military. This is back in, the 70s, right after Vietnam. He was traveling. When I was about a year old, I was born in Thailand, but when I was a year old, my dad decided to move back to Hawaii. He was where he's from. And then at the age of 3, the first responders and authorities had gotten a phone call that they heard a baby crying for 3 days. And so they came to my home and they found me laying in a bathtub with about an inch of water and I was covered in burns. I have this burn scar here was burned with an iron. I had cigarettes put out on me on both of my arms and my feet. And by the time they found me, I was barely alive. I was down to like 6 breaths per minute. And they were surprised that I even survived, but they rushed me to the hospital, were able to revive me. And then my brother and I were both put into foster care at that time.
Were you
So that
split
was my
up?
first placement.
Were you split up?
No, we actually went to the same foster home. It was a temporary one. As you know, most foster homes are temporary and they try to assess things and then try to reunite.
Yeah.
I ended up going back to my parents about 6 months later. The abuse continued, so they pulled us out again. I went to my
It's their
second
boomerang
foster.
kids.
Yeah,
Let me tell you something. It's because I went in the system the same time you went in the system. And, if you even think that anything is different, it's not. We return kids way too soon. We, try. I mean, I've said this for so long. I mean, abuse just doesn't stop because a child has been taken away for a period of time.
correct.
Abuse has to be done within ourselves to heal within ourselves if we are the abuser,
Right.
and I think so many times we're just checking boxes and not really looking at the well-being of the child because we're so indebted that they have to go back to their family of origin.
Well,
And
they're stuck in this idea that they have to follow a procedure or a way every single time, and every case is different, every situation is different, and they treat it like everything's the same every single time, and that's not doesn't work.
so your brother didn't go back, but you went
So
back.
no, actually he did.
Okay.
He and I both went back to a second foster home. We were there about a year. We got visits every weekend.
Oh,
Obviously
they
the
visited.
Yeah, so we had visits even, and it was non-supervised as well. Obviously, the abuse continued for me, right? My brother never was abused. So after a year, they wanted us to return, and I was adamant. I was probably 5 years old at that time now, and my foster parents advocated and said, "Hey, he comes back, on these visits with so much trauma. There's no way ready to go back." But my brother wanted to go, so then my brother went back to live with my parents, and I stayed in foster care.
So did your brother go back? Did he receive any more of the abuse?
He never got abused.
Do
He
you
was
know
never,
why they abused you and didn't abuse your
yeah,
brother?
I can speculate. I mean, this is 50 years ago, but my family's Asian. A lot of it has to do with the firstborn. He's the oldest son, so possibly that's the reason he never got. I don't know what my mom's state of mind was when she came here. She married my dad and moved to the United States, so she was a immigrant, right? First generation immigrant. Could have been a lot of stress there. My dad could have been abusive. I don't know. I never
Right.
know the true
Yeah, I
story.
look back at the same thing and I'm the youngest of 10 kids and my dad he didn't choose which one he chose us all to
Right.
the cigarettes and all of that. I've been through that. But you know what I want to know, I mean, you go to a foster home, you're there for a year. Why the constant, placement?
Oh, so I stayed with that family from 4 to 13, actually.
Oh.
I was with this foster family for a long time. I
Don't
went
you
back to
think
live
it
with my dad
I
once
have
when
to
I was
interrupt you there because
yeah.
I'm listening 4 to 13th. I mean, the, what an absolute tragedy that a child at the age of 4, and by the way, you're a prime aged for adoption because I mean,
Yes.
once we hit 12, nobody's looking to adopt us.
Correct.
I mean, I came into the system at 12 and no one was going to adopt me no matter how many years I lived with my foster parents,
Yeah.
and I look at my oldest son who's 18, who's now 24, but we took him when he was 18 and adopted him. That just doesn't happen. So I mean, why wouldn't a judge rule and make your goal adoption and put you out there so you could have a forever family?
Well, when we grew up in foster care, it was a whole different era, a whole different system. And so, I mean, I can't speculate how, it was broken then. And we know it's broken now, but I mean, it was broken in different ways back then too. So it's like, I never look back at it. I mean, I'll never change or regret anything I've gone through. It's made me who I am, right? And so, I always believe that no matter how chaotic your childhood is, there are strengths that you get from it. And I actually do a keynote where I talk about how a chaotic childhood is actually a superpower. It actually gives you the ability to be a successful entrepreneur because it gives you all the skill sets you need to be successful. So you're not handicapped. You
Right.
actually are ahead of the game, but you just need to be aware of it, right? So
Yeah, I truly think that I agree 100% with you. I don't blame the system. I want to change the system.
exactly.
And as well as I do, and I have this happen quite often, is I have siblings who, there's only about half of them that are still even alive, but they continue to be in that blame and they can't get out of that trench.
You're
Um,
stuck.
and we see that cycle, and that's where the cycle comes in of kids coming in and you're generational. And I tell them this to my kids all the time. You have an opportunity right now to completely change the way your book is written. And you have to make that choice. And I do believe
Amen.
that so much of that, my friend, is about choices. So at 13, they just decided they didn't want to foster you any longer.
No, so I went back to live with my dad at 9 for 2 months. He said he wasn't ready to be a dad. So I went back to the same foster home. Thankfully, they took me back, right? Then when I was 13, I'm not sure if you're aware of a program called the Casey Family Program.
Yep, totally aware of it.
Yeah,
I'm very flattered. I just received last year their awards. I love them, love
yeah.
them.
So Casey Family Program in Hawaii had a situation where they wanted to put me into. So Casey Family Program back then was all about taking a child out of foster care, putting them into a forever home, and they would have a social worker assigned to you and follow you all the way through college. But I had a choice. I get adopted or go back to live with my dad. And as a kid in foster care, no matter how traumatic things are, you yearn for that need to
Of
be back
course.
with your parents, right? Like, even though you know that all kinds of things happen, you still do that. So I made that choice and I went back to live with my dad. And 6 months later, it was the day before Christmas break. I come home and all my things are packed. And he says, "I'm can't be a father. I'm not ready. I'm gonna put you into a group home." And so that's where the cycle started. And I ended up in a group home where I got bullied. I didn't belong. I wasn't anything like the kids. I wasn't never got in trouble or anything like that. And so I ran away from the group home because I got, bullied and beat up. And and I ended up going to my stepmom's parents' home, and I slept over. And the next morning, I woke up to police officers handcuffing me and arresting me and taking me to detention center. I got beat up by a police officer as I got out and going to the detention center, and it just spiraled from there. I was very angry. I had a lot of turmoil, and so now I started bouncing. I was in from 13 to 17. I went through the rest of my 15
Wow.
15 placements, six group homes in and out of detention center, and so fortunately, there was people along the way that helped me choose a different path, but it was a rough time during those 4 years for me.
Yeah, I mean, to tell you, I have to, there's so many things I have to, oh my gosh, I wish this was a longer podcast. Okay, I got to jump into this because I want to talk about CKMD and I want
Sure,
to talk the 4 tier, but I have to hear about the shooting.
sure.
You were actually shot 9 times.
Yeah. So I was going through a tumultuous custody battle with my ex-wife. and we had gone through 5 years of custody battle. She had made false accusations to get a favorable parenting plan, said I abused her, abused my son, which were all false. When it was found untrue, they still gave her everything, my son, my house. And then a
Course.
year and a half later, my son ends up in foster care because he almost dies in the care of her because of neglect. He's got special needs. He's got a form of cerebral palsy called dystonia. So he's
Okay.
non-mobile, non-verbal. So talk about fate, but at the age of 3, he ends up in foster care, just like me. So I come back, even with a bench warrant on my head because they were trying to throw me in jail because I couldn't pay $6,000 a month in child support. Yeah, yeah. So I came back and they wouldn't give him to me. They said that we would both be able to get equal visits in what they call a C dependency case, where both parents get visitations and then the courts would decide who's a better parent. Now, granted, I never abused my son, never did anything to my son other than being a man. And then she had done all these things. So it took 2 years while he was in foster care. I actually made friends with his foster mom, who was an angel that took care of only kids with disabilities for her
Wow.
foster
They are
home.
true angels on earth.
True angel. Yeah, yeah. And so I would be able to come to her house and pick up my son, drop him off, and we met. And so she opened the door for me to be able to be with my son even more. After 2 years, we had a lot of exchanges that were very violent. My ex-wife would, throw him on the ground, try to run me over, do all kinds of crazy stuff. And so they finally caught her on camera because it was at the police department, putting him on the floor of the lobby instead of handing him to me or putting him in his wheelchair and taking off. So they finally gave him to me. And we were supposed to go to a trial to adopt the ruling from dependency court into family court so I would get custody. This was in August of 2020. We were scheduled to go for trial. 1 month before that, July 10th, 2020, I walk out of my home and I hear pop. I look to my left, I thought it was fireworks because it's July 10th, right? Somebody might have had fireworks. I look to my right, the second shot hits my arm, shatters my arm, and I realize someone's running at me with a gun, shooting at me. So I had just unlocked my car door with my fob, but it ended up dropping because I got shot. So I ran to my car to try and take cover somewhere, right?
Right,
And I get
right.
shot in the back of my leg, my right leg. I fall to the ground. I end up pulling myself behind the car door. The guy's still running at me, shooting at me. And then a few seconds later, I look up to my left and the guy's right there, standing over me. First shot goes right into my chest and out. And I'm like, oh crap. And then I dive into my car to hide my head under the wheel well, hoping that at least he won't be able to shoot my head or my heart. Then he fires 5 more shots point blank on my left side. So both arms, both legs, my hip, and my chest got shot. So, and I still have a bullet in this arm, and then I have a bullet left in both of my legs too.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I wasn't expecting that. Wow. I and she hired somebody to do this to you.
She hired two boys, offered them $13,000, and never paid them.
I hope she's behind bars.
Unfortunately, only 13 years.
But you have to live the rest of your life with those bullets lodged in
Correct.
your body and the trauma that you have to think about. And every time a firework goes off, I'm guaranteeing you that you jump.
I get a little skittish, but not too
Yeah.
bad with PTSD. But yes.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
Let me tell you something. You truly, my friend, are a gift. And there is a reason. There is a reason why you are here today. There is a reason why you are spreading, your purpose throughout this land. There is a reason. And I love the fact that you are not taking that for granted. And you're not
Absolutely.
taking that for granted. And the fact that you could be thinking about yourself because, by the
Mhm.
way, nobody thought about you for all those placements. Nobody thought about you as you were fighting the court system, trying to do what's best for your child, even though your child couldn't speak and even though your child, wasn't able to tell people what he was going through, but you continued to stand next to him. And by the way, you know as well as I do, most men would have just walked away.
Exactly. Yeah.
would have walked away, but you didn't. And then all of a sudden, you start the four tiers contracting. I want to
So
know what.
actually, a quick rewind. So after I got shot, I really wanted to use my platform to do good. And so I always wanted to advocate for foster kids. I want to be a voice for people that don't have one. I never had one growing up, and I want to be that voice for them. And so I started doing some networking. I met a gentleman named Blair Daly. He runs an organization called Washington Initiative for Boys and Men. He's been petitioning to create a commission here in Washington State for boys and men. So when laws are being passed, we're making sure that boys and men are being represented as well.
Right.
And then he introduced me to a gentleman named Rick Newell. Rick Newell had run a mentoring program for inner city black children here in Seattle. He told me he wanted to start a mentoring program for foster kids, but didn't know where to start. So I mentored him for a year, giving him insight about foster care and whatnot. And we created a nonprofit called Route 21, where we took previous foster uh, kids that were in foster care that have aged out in their early 20s and 30s, and we pay them to mentor kids currently in care right now. So we're helping two generations of youth that were in care. And so, with that being said, I met my business partner. He was one of the mentors in Route 21, and we said we want to do more. Like let's take it another step. So he's been in construction for 30 years, and I been building businesses and have been in sales and marketing. So we created four tiers contracting, and the goal for four tiers contracting is to hire kids that have aged out of the system and provide them jobs in the construction field, but not only to teach them construction, but to mentor them through life and eventually help them own and operate their own businesses one day. And so that's kind of where it all started. And I started a four tiers contracting about 18 months ago. And it's just no advertising, no anything, but we've been booked solid constantly.
I
And
love
because of the success, now I really wanted to pursue something even more. And that's where CKMD Army is just launched. And so CKMD Army is basically some of the same principles you have. It's about getting everyone involved. Well, one, I believe that small businesses have a duty, a moral obligation to their community, right? That they
And
need
so do
help.
big businesses.
And yeah, any business in
Yeah.
general.
I
But
mean,
if
they
you're
are
going to
the
help your community,
I say this all the time, and I say this to companies. I was actually speaking at a company yesterday afternoon, and I said their corporate responsibility is to build the foundation of our community stronger. And
correct.
how they do that is by giving back to the community. And, that to me is a key thing. And I love that because with the Army Resource Guide, you're actually connecting kids from the foster care system to these organizations, to these
Right.
companies. We at Comfort Cases, we give out this year, we're giving five scholarships out in a couple of weeks. And those scholarships, we say all the time, they don't have to be for kids who are going to college. They can go to a trade school.
Right.
And I love the fact that you're opening up the doors because no matter what, and you and I both know this, kids in foster care, who, by the way, come because of choices other people made, they want to support themselves. They want
Correct.
to have the opportunities that they don't see. They just don't know where to go. They don't know where to
Exactly.
start. They have no one guiding them. So that's where you guys come in.
Yeah, so the idea with the CKMD Army is so the saying CKMD is from my motto is life may knock me down, but it can't keep me down. So it can't keep me down, Army. And the way I look at it is we talk about people that want to get involved and are the most passionate, are people that with lived experience. So why not build up soldiers and stop saving kids? Let's build up soldiers to create an army to fight this cause and help change the system, right? And so that's the idea behind it. The resource guide is for three folds. One is for the public. We talk about getting the public involved. We cannot blame the public if we don't make them aware. So this resource
Exactly.
guide gives them all the tools. I don't care what state you're in. I don't know. I don't care what capacity you want to be. You can find a way to help. You don't have to be a foster parent. You can get involved with a program that is already doing the work. Second, it allows foster families and youth in care to have those resources to go and get help as they need it. They don't have to struggle to find resources. They have a simple guide to go there. And then the third, to follow your lead, is to get organizations together. I can go through this. If I'm an organization, I can go to this guide, see all these other organizations, and see who I'm able to collaborate with, right? And
Right.
so nobody has an excuse because now everybody will know exactly where to go, who's who and what and doing what. Like everybody's going to be a Rob Scheer by the time I'm done. I want everybody to know, who's
I
doing what in
love
foster
that.
care.
I love that. I love that. I love that. What a takeaway, everybody. I mean, the fact is that we're all in this together. I say it quite often. Your community's not your zip code. Your community's our human race. So what affects people in my little town of Darnestown, Maryland, will actually affect people in the state of that you live in. And let me tell you, I love, love, love what you're doing. I love your passion, and I love the fact that you're able to tell your story. And by the way, kept a lot for not choking me up. And I mean, I've heard a lot in my life and have gone through a lot, but you, my friend, you're somebody that I look up to. And so I just want you to continue what you're doing. Listen, everybody, we're going to have a link right here that you're going to be able to click on, and you're going to be able to go and see about this army that we all need to be a part of. We all need to be making a difference. You and I could talk forever.
Absolutely.
And I want to say I definitely want to have you back again. I think there's so much more for us to cover. But at the end, I just want to say thank you. Thank you for not giving up on yourself. I think so many times those of us that are, quote, alumni of foster care, so many times we see so many that give up on themselves. And it's something that I refuse to do. And I see it in you that you refuse to do. And I think that you and I are not the abnormal. I think there's more people that are like us. I just think that they just need that little push. And I want to say thank you for making my day. You know, um, I have a question for you, and I ask this
Sure.
quite often. If there was anything that you could change about the foster care system currently as it stands today, what would be the first thing that would pop in your mind?
I think making the every child know that they matter the most, right? Like I think that's the spark of hope, right? Because that's when I was growing up, it was a police officer named Cool Joe. I used to run away from this foster group home all the time, and their job was to pick me up, process me, and take me back. But he never did that. He would take me to go eat or get ice cream or whatever, and talk to me and pour into me all the things I, could be or wanted, ask me what I wanted to do and stuff like that, and show me that I mattered. I wasn't some number, and that was a turning point for me to realize that I had so much more potential. So I think if we let every child know that they matter and they're not falling through the cracks and that not being left alone, that can change a lot. Even if the system can't change, we can change how they are treated while in the system and how they feel. So,
Kids just want to be seen. They want to be
right.
seen. They want to know, and we try this here, and we've been doing this. We change our vocabulary. We're trying to get people to realize that these are not foster kids or kids who are experiencing foster care, because for some reason, as soon as you put the F word in front of these kids' names,
Yeah.
people continuously ask me, what did they do wrong?
Yeah.
Oh, they're troubled kids. Oh, how did you adopt five kids? I bet they were just out of control. You know what? My five kids were no different than anybody else's five kids. They were
You and
up,
I,
they were
you and
down.
I both can name a list of things that kids are in care for that had nothing to do with them.
Exactly, exactly. And let me tell you
Yeah.
something. There were some dark times as we raised our kids, but there's been so many happy
Yeah.
times. And
They
I
outweigh the dark times.
Oh my gosh,
Yeah.
my kids, my oldest is 24, my youngest is 16, and I tell them all the time, I am the luckiest person in the world because they chose me to be their dad. Listen, everybody, this is another, I mean, oh my gosh, this one's going to be hard not to be in my top of the summer, because this has been some raw, I know it's been some difficult conversations, and the fact is that, as my friend said, you know, we have to educate our public. We have to. We have to educate our community, because if we don't educate them, they're not going to want change. And the fact is that they need to hear stories like this, because the stories that happened in the 70s happened in the 80s, the 90s, the
Yeah.
200, it's happening. Okay.
Still
Let's
happen.
just be, it's happening. It's happening today. And let's stop pretending like it's not. It's happening. But how we stop that, see something, say something, you know, and at the same time, Be there and be there because that's
Take
what,
action.
yeah, pay attention.
Take action. Please
You know
take
what?
action.
I can't wait for you and I to talk again. Thank you. For all of you, please click on the link here. Go show some love. As nonprofits, that's truly what we need to keep us going for the next day. And until next time, I'm going to get some rest because what a busy week has it been. Take care, everybody.